All right, everybody, we are live. How is everybody doing out there tonight? We had snow here. Anybody else got snow yet?
Well, we got a little warm spell going on, but I think in a couple weeks here it's going to die.
What's up,
All
everybody?
right.
How you doing?
Looks like we have,
Howdy, folks.
so I guess we're live. Everything showed up out there. Oh, here it is. It says we have 0 watching. That's not right. Maybe it'll catch up. Everybody hear us out there all right? Somebody give us a thumbs up. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever.
Yeah, when I take it off on my other screen, I can hear us good.
Yep. Hey, Grumpy, while you're out there, you want to come up on the panel with us? We had a no-show. I'm going to send a link down there for you. Just a second.
Hey, Uncle Al.
What's up, Uncle Al, Tibor, Ryan the Gamer, Kyle, Josh? How y'all doing today?
Be up there for you. All right, you guys, tonight we're going to be talking about making your dream come true. Say you're wanting to get out of the city or whatever and get out and start homesteading, how you would go about it, the steps you'd want to take to get there. First step would probably be to get out of debt. And then first thing you want to do is look for you some property, depending on what you want. Whether you want it to be already got your well and stuff in, or whether you want it to be unincorporated or whatever, unincorporated meaning you have to do all the work to it yourself to get everything done. There he is. Hold on. Bada boom, bada bing. Are you there?
Hey, Dave.
Yep. Can you hear me?
You got everybody now? Yep.
Yep, we can hear you.
Looks like it. 1,
Gotcha.
2, 3, 4. Looks like we're missing somebody.
Cheryl?
Yeah. Who else wants to come up on the panel? I need one more body. That must be Uncle Al. Uncle Al, you want to come up? Hit that link in the chat. So I want to talk. I wish Reed was here, but he's not. Somebody know more about the financial end of it than I do. Who wants to do that?
Covered.
Well,
I
I'm
got
not
you
an
covered.
accountant.
I'm not very good at financial stuff. I barely take care of myself.
Yeah, after 30 years, my wife has beat some accounting sense into me.
So we need to start trying to make some sense out of the financial end of it, how you start preparing yourself to become independently able to go out, like start your own homestead and stuff like that. I have a link I can put in where you can buy land fairly cheap.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that your finances are in order. I mean, you don't want to be crutched by having bad finances now and having the debt man come calling whenever you're trying to get everything situated.
Yeah.
Here's a place that I found that you can get land pretty cheap. It'll either be, you can either get it incorporated or unincorporated. And it's fairly cheap. That's where I went to look when I started thinking about going out and looking for property to buy. They are legitimate. There's a lot of them out there that are not.
Yeah, I like Linden Farm too.
But they have some pretty inexpensive property that you can pick up.
Yeah.
Depending on where you want to go, and they have it all across the country. So if none of you guys know about that, there is a link for you to go to.
Yeah, they're a pretty good outfit.
They're reputable. Yeah, there's a lot of them out there that are rip-offs.
Nope, we lost Dan.
Oh man, he must have gone outside.
No, it looked like he froze for a second, then he got the little wheel on him. So I think he lost his Wi-Fi signal.
You'll be back.
Yeah. Well, who do you want to start this off, Will?
You.
Me? Okay. So I had to go open my big mouth, didn't I?
You raised your hand. So.
All right. So, I went and put some things in order here of what happened with us. All right. So, we're from California originally, and we were trying to get out of California and away from the Democrats. And anyways, about it's been about 5 years ago. My wife and I were talking, and we figured, all right, we do not want to retire in California. It's just not good all the way around with the way the taxes are and the way they're hitting the 401ks there and all that other stuff. So we started talking about what we wanted in a property for that would be our retirement / redoubt property or retreat, whatever you want to call it. What we're going to want to do be able to do gardening. And we figured out we want to raise, have some goats and maybe some sheep, some pigs later on, and possibly some beef cows. No milk cows. I already did that when I was a kid. I'm not going to go back to milking twice a day. And so we talked about it. And then my wife's an accountant. So she started setting up a budget and going through everything. And so we started tightening up on, we'd finished paying off the house already. So we'd started, loosening up our purse strings, a little bit, started doing more, going out to movies more and stuff. And we reined that back in. So we set up our budget and started saving a little bit more money. And we started looking for property. We looked for several years. Half of 2014, all of 2015, and up until October of 2016. That's when we found the property we got and we bought it. We also we went through several real estate agents before we found the real estate agent that took the time to hunt down our property for us. So we looked for several years. As soon as we got the property, because we're up above the freeze line up here in Idaho, where houses that are not with a heater running all the time have to be winterized, well, we stuck our daughter and her family into the house because she just finished graduating from BYU, Idaho, and so did her husband. So we stuck them in the house here with their 2 kids. So we wouldn't have to worry about winterizing the place or, locking it up, when we come up for the weekend's work. Anyways, so we got them in there. So someone was watching the house for us. Then we started coming up on making trips up here to work on the place. Cause we got 5 acres, 4-bedroom, 1-bath house, 2-car garage for $130,000 on city water, on city sewer, natural gas, and power. This small town is a very rare thing to have a town that's only a quarter-mile square have all that. So we got that. We got someone in here. We'd come up on the weekends and we start fixing the place up. The place had been basically neglected for several years. And it was just, the fences were falling down from the cows that had been brought in to graze on the property. Anyway, we've been fixing it up. And we're trying to get a bunch of it done. And then I wound up retiring a year early. I retired last year. And so I've been coming here spending, 2-3 weeks at a time instead of just a weekend or, half a week up here. And so we've been working on it. We're getting good. Got the orchard started. We got 7 trees planted in the orchard. We're going to have a total of 25 out there. We were working on it one step at a time. It took us several years to find the right place. And since 2016, we've been coming up and working on it a little bit of time, getting it fixed up. If you've seen some of my videos about me fixing stuff up, you know what I'm talking about. So, Basically right now we are working on. We started before I put the orchard in. We sat down and we planned out what we're going to do with the 5 acres. Where we're going. My daughter wants to build a house. My one son wants to build a house, and my wife and I want to build a house away from the main house that's on the property right now. The main house is good because it's so old. We're going to turn that into the community center for our family. And
how many acres did you get? I forget.
5 acres.
5 acres.
And also
30,000, right?
Huh?
For 130,000, right?
Right. And a 2-car garage with a shop on the back of it. But with the main house, once we build our house off and everybody's out of it, we'll also be where people come to visit us. They can stay there because, hey, it's got 4 bedrooms. So we planned out where we're going to put the houses at. We planned out where the orchard's going to go. We've planned out where our greenhouses are going to go, where the different type gardens we're going to put in. We're going to have a dinner garden. We're going to have a large crop garden, like for corn and stuff takes a lot of area to plant. So we got that all planned out now, and that took probably going back and forth the discussions between my wife and I, probably about 6 months to plan it out of give and take. We also planned out where we're going to put our solar panels because we don't want to put them on the house because we want to be able to turn them in the wintertime when it snows at nighttime. So there's nothing gets on them. So when the sun comes up, we can turn it back and charge. We're going to put in a wind turbine. We'll have a backup generator. We're going to get a propane tank to put on the property by the greenhouse, but it'll be plumbed so we can turn off the natural gas if the natural gas goes down and plumb the propane into the house. And we got the we'll get replacement jets for the hot water heater and the stove and everything and the furnace. So that way we can change, we can change back and forth. When I was digging, if you saw my one video, I discovered where the old well was. I hit the casing when I was digging with a little backhoe. So we're going to rehab the well. So we will in a couple of years be able to go off grid at basically flipping a couple switches and turning a couple valves. That's our goal. That's our dream.
A lot of people don't really realize that live in a big city just how cheap property is out when you get away from the city and get out into the heartland, what I call the heartland of America.
Well, yeah, it's like my house in California. When I bought it 33 years ago, I paid $142 for it. It was only a 1/3 acre. I've been offered $780,000 for it. But we're gonna keep it for a rental income because we can rent it out right now for $3,500 a month.
That's in California.
Yeah, it's in California.
That's another thing. It depends on. Let me get this up here. It depends on where you live at too. As to what the property values are. People that live like on the West Coast or the East Coast, where when you live in the city, it costs a lot to live. It may work on their on the innards of their brain, thinking that they'll never get out of debt enough to be able to afford a place of their own, which is not really true. I mean, if you get yourself out of debt, it would be easy enough to save the money, and then you would have to go out and find a place to buy, and then find somebody that you could buy it from.
Right. It's like a friend of mine. He owns Hidden Valley Homestead up in northern Idaho. He's a heavy equipment operator in Southern California. And his plan is by the end of summer next year, they will sell their property in California and they will be up in Idaho full time. And they'll be able to pay out. They'll have their place up there totally paid off. He'll be able to get a tractor and get his solar panel system, get all his system in when he sells the place in California.
The ideal thing to do would actually just get yourself completely out of debt, so that all the money that you were putting into, like your credit cards or your car payment or whatever, you could take that portion of that money and just stick it away every month and build you up a nest egg to purchase land or property, you know.
Right.
Like,
That's
like
what we did.
land and property place there, you only have to have very little money down to even pick the darn thing up, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was talking with some people last night and on another chat, and we were talking about stuff, and someone commented in on it, and I was commenting back to that person afterwards. And they're looking to go move out of Provo up into the mountains a little bit. And so I sent them some information. Around where I am, there was a 5-acre plot without a house on it for $45,000. And then there was a 10-acre for $79,000. And it's close to where I'm at. It's within 5 miles of where I'm at, and I am 15 miles from the regional medical center for Bingham County and 17 miles for the regional medical center in Bonneville County. So, but it's basically to get to either one of those, the first 10 miles is out in the country driving.
Yeah, it depends on where you want, what you want on the property you're buying too, as what you pay for it. I was looking at some of those parcels from that land and farm, and you could get up to like 35 or 40 acres for like $20,000-$30,000. You know, it wouldn't have any kind of utilities on it, but for that kind of money, you could probably put them in yourself, go solar or whatever, you know, and just have a well put in.
Yeah, that's what we were looking at originally. When my wife and I first started looking, we were looking just for property, and then we're looking at some not as large a property. We were looking at 20 acres or more to begin with, and then we dropped it back down to 10 acres with possibly a modular on it already, or a small house that we could live in and build another house. And when Jamie, our real estate agent, when she found us this property for 130, it was like, okay, we're going down to 5 acres.
Yeah, it really depends on just what you want, you know, and what you're willing to do. You know, like I'm an older person, so I was looking for something that already had at least had water on it, you know, because you're going to need water no matter what, even if it's a non-event, into the world event, even whatever, you're still going to need water to begin with. And I looked at all different kinds of things that you can do. You can dig your own well, depending on how healthy you are, you know, and how deep it is in the area that you're looking at, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, there's all kinds of sources out there to do all these do-it-yourself projects, depending on how healthy you are, what lengths you're willing to go to get what you want, different things, you know.
Yeah. I mean, the water table where we're at is like 20 feet deep, because we are a third of the mile from the Snake River, and it is only 10 feet below where we're at. So yeah, it feeds the water table around here. But for budgeting, one thing, the primary thing people need to look at, once they decide where they want to go to and what they really need, not what they just want, what they need on their property, then they need to figure out, okay, how much is that going to cost? About set up a high end and a low end up, then work on your budget. The budget is a killer for dreams if you don't do it right. When my wife and I got married, I'd already bought the house in California, and I was renting out a couple of the rooms, and she was one of the people came in, rented the room, and about the third day was like, dang, why did I rent to her, man? I'm getting hung up on her. And in 2 months we were engaged, and so that's 32 years ago from when we got engaged.
You Romeo, you.
Hey, I was 30 at the time. All right, I'd put it off as long as I could. Basically, she was an accountant, And the first thing she did once we were married and stuff, she started looking with lending agencies, and she turned our 30-year fixed mortgage into a 15-year that we only had to pay $58 more a month. And it would be paid off 15 years sooner. And then she cut back all of my peripheral spending of going out and eating 5 nights a week.
Of course she did.
And going to the movies all the time. We used to go to the movies quite a bit, and then she cut that back to twice a month. We'd go out to the movies. Most of the time, we'd just go to like Redbox, or at the time Blockbuster was still in business. We'd go up and rent after, figure, all right, a couple bucks to rent, or $10 to go to the movies each. And so we changed our lifestyle around and got rid of a lot of the, what I want to say, superfluous activities that we really didn't need. That the mindset of a lot of people were, let's go out and buy this, get the best of that. And we turn things around. And basically from that 15-year mortgage, it was paid off in 12.
Yeah.
So it was paid off before we wanted to get it paid off before our daughter went into graduated from high school. But budgeting is the most important part of prepping. You
actually got to have the mindset. You got to be what do you call that?
Yeah.
Just self-disciplined.
Right. Or if you're not very self-disciplined, you got to find somebody who'll write up a budget for you. And you print it out, you stick it on your refrigerator, you stick it on the bathroom door, you stick it on the front door. So you're always reminding yourself, you got to control your spending.
Yeah. Tibor is out there. I agree. Tibor brought it up. When you buy into those parcels that are split up, you got to make sure that you're not going to be hooked into what they call the access roads. Some places you buy won't have any access into it. Then you get into some hassles legally, usually is what I've been reading up on, is having to pay out the nose to get access into the property you buy. So when you look at those parcel splits like Land and Farm has, make sure that you're buying something that has county roads into it, or some sort of a roadway that has access.
Where we were looking at originally up around Council, Idaho, over above Boise, a lot of the roads there were state Forest Service roads. And the problem over there was that whatever property we were looking at had 1 or 2 roads going through the property that you couldn't block off. So you'd have to fence along it, so your property would be divided by the roadway. And so that's
make sure you have that right-of-way access or a county road.
You got to make sure that access isn't going through the middle of your property for someone else.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
That was the problem we saw over there. And the one property was really nice, but there was a road went through, and in the middle of the property, it teed off. And you had, it's like no, because people were using it all the time.
Hey, Tyler.
Yep, got to check your easements.
How about you, Anthony? You haven't said nothing yet. Let's let you have some airtime.
Well, for me, and I totally agree with you, Gil, about the budget. That's probably the biggest thing that you can possibly do right now. That's going to fix a lot of your problems, if you have any problems, that is, to get you in a better position. Now, I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm a millennial, so obviously I was pushed kind of in the wrong direction from the get-go, where it's like, hey, you need to go to school. Hey, you need to do this, and hey, you need to do that. And here's your credit card when you turn 18, and here's another credit card and another one. So I got behind the 8 ball early, and unfortunately, my mom, she worked 2 jobs, so she really didn't teach me very much about budgeting and all that fun stuff. So I had to learn the hard way when I was in the military how fast money can go. but it's just one of those things where it's like once you figure it out and once you open your mind to the fact that all these companies care about is making you spend your money on stupid crap, and you can unplug from that consumeristic lifestyle, congratulations. You're finally making that first step to being free. And then you can take more steps to, help yourself. So you don't got to go out to eat every day. You can make stuff at home, and that's going to save you money. You don't have to buy that thing on credit card. You can wait till you get paid or the next paycheck and save for it like a normal person. Like if you just stop the impulse buying that we've been kind of ingrained in, there's a lot more things that you can do. So if you want to better your situation, do a budget, find out what your excess is at the end of the month or end of the paycheck, and then throw it on one of your bills. And once you pay off those credit cards and that student loan and all that stuff that's debt, congratulations, you have so much more working money to stash away for a property that you really want. So that's what I did. It took me about 2 years to get my act together after I got out of the military, and I bought my house with 5 acres. 5 acres for me was one of those perfect numbers because it's big enough to where I can make a garden for my family and a growing family, and I can still have livestock and hunt on it. That's what I do now. So right now I got a house with about 1.5 acres that's cleared. The rest of it's woods, and I'm slowly pushing back, but it's just it works for me. And you have to make sure you pay attention to where your all the roads are. You want to make sure that you still have like the mineral rights. Someone's not going to be able to come out and steal your mineral rights or your water rights. I like the fact that my property had a creek behind it. That way I always have running water, and it's a year-round creek. So that's another thing. If you go to the property in the summertime or the wintertime, you want to make sure that you're always going to have running water.
You better make sure you keep some of those woods so you get that big buck out of there.
Exactly. That's why I kept the woods up, and that's why I'm slowly taking them down, because I'd like to be able to hunt my property and then bring them in. And having the creek there, I'm basically off the grid now because I don't have to worry about sewer because I'm on a septic system. I have a well, so I'm not on city water. So I'm already kind of off everywhere except for electricity. I have to have electricity, and I don't have enough cleared space to be able to put solar panels yet, but I will. It's all come in due time. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Just small little things that you can do to try to be financially independent and be independent from somebody else. That's the main thing that you have to think about. Like, what if I can't do this for a week? Who's going to come calling? Who's going to come knocking on my door for money? What companies? Can I cut them out? Basically. So if you can cut out a lot of your debt, and I agree completely, old school prepper, I see you. If you can cut out a lot of your debt now, and you can rein in your spending and just have some money in a rainy day fund, and you don't owe anybody, congratulations. If you don't make any money, then you don't owe anybody. You're still fine. So that's the main thing I really wanted to hit was that's what I did. I got my house 4 years ago. I'm obviously going to be paying for it for a while. I had a VA loan, so I had to get a turnkey house. So I couldn't buy just a property and build on it. I had to buy something turnkey. But it's working out for me so far, and we're good.
That's cool. And that's basically what we're talking about here is if you can cut your credit cards up, you should probably do it. It's hard to live without them. I know. I've been there. I've been in that scenario before, but it's easier to just cut them up and save that money, because that way you're not paying that interest either. And you think, well, I can have it now if I have the credit card, but think about how long you told yourself when you bought that thing on that credit card, well, I'll just pay it off early. But sometimes life gets in the way and it just doesn't work out that way. So you're ending up paying all that interest on top of buying what you wanted today. So just cut the darn thing up and learn how to pull your britches up and wait till you got the money to do it for real. And then also Tibor, I wanted to catch this because when you go out and look at those land and farm deals that seem really good, and I was going to touch on this, but Tibor is right on top of it for me. Thanks, buddy. Also, besides the access roads, make sure that you are not going to be crossing anybody else's water rights or gas lines, power lines. you know, that can make a big difference when you're going out there looking for your dream homestead. Make sure you're asking all these questions before you're going out there and making that dream deal.
Yep. The other thing we talk about credit cards. When I got married, I had 3 credit cards. I had a J.C. Penney's, a Sears, and a Visa. When my wife got married, she had a J.C. Penney, a Sears, and a MasterCard. After 1 year, we got rid of. I got rid of my J.C. Penney, and then next year I got rid of my Sears because it wasn't really giving us any bonus on it. 2 years later, she got rid of her pennies because she'd used up all her special things on it. And then she just put her Sears away. And we've only used her Sears card twice because there were special sales. If you put it on your Sears account, you got an extra $50 off or $70 off an appliance. And that's the only time we used hers. But right now, she's even gotten rid of that. And we both have our Amazon Visa cards. And that's the only cards we use.
Well, I suppose you could have cards, but you'd have to be very self-disciplined to only use them for emergencies or whatever like that, you know. But most people can't hardly do that anymore, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's like all I use it for is for getting gas, going to Sam's Club or Costco, you know, the monthly stuff, and it gets paid off, boom, as soon as the bill comes.
Yeah, Tibor is right when he's talking about the unfortunate side of this company is, or this country is the fact that they require you to be on debt or credit to somebody in order to have a score. That
I was just reading that myself.
Unfortunately, when I was shopping for car insurance recently, and they took my credit score into to my payment, like, oh, you have a really good credit score, so we're going to give you a low payment. It's like, what does my credit score have to do with insurance? Well, it's that
they're
thing.
not supposed to do that either legally.
Yeah, that's just one of those things for auto owners insurance. They look at your stuff just to make sure that you're good to go, I guess. But it's that how everything is kind of rolling into debt. Hey, is your credit score good? And if you don't maintain some form of debt, then you're not a good person. So if you pay for cash for everything, you look bad.
It seems to me it's another way of them to track you.
Yeah.
Because you're always going to pay that debt. And in order to pay your debt, you have to have a way for them to physically track you to where you live, you know. So I think that's a thing, a way for them to track where you're at all the time. That's my opinion on that deal, you know. It's just so that they know where you're at all the time, because your cards and all that stuff are tied to you physically, to a physical address of where you're being billed from.
Yeah.
How about SOP? What do you got to add, sir?
Don't fall in the trap that I did. I was doing okay for a while there. Then I got hit with child support at an early age, and I didn't budget everything correctly. I spent a lot of money trying to live on the road and made a lot of bad decisions. And then when my mom passed away, I went $280,000 in debt. The minute she passed away, I had to take care of all the medical bills. And thanks to Muscular Dystrophy Association and hospice up there in Michigan, they knocked it down from 280 down to 160. I only owe like 47,000 left on it, but being on disability, I'll never get past it. So my credit rating is totally shot and gone. So just be careful what you get yourself into. Don't make bad decisions early in life, because they will catch up to you later in life.
Absolutely. Mr. Dan the Man.
I've got a couple things to say about credit, because I've actually been pretty fortunate with the credit industry over the past 10 years. I got lucky because, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I got pretty lucky. I had a pretty high paying job for the last 7 or 8 years. You know, I've been pretty successful with my work. So I was pulling down a pretty hefty salary there per year. And with that, I had a little bit more leniency with my credit, but I've learned how to make credit cards work for me more so than having to work for the credit card companies. And that's by being willing to open up an account every year at a different credit union and do balance transfers. Because a lot, with my decent credit score and with my savings that I have, I've been able to, open up a new account at a new credit union that offers me 12 months zero down or 0% APR, and then it'll jump up to, 7.9, 8.9, whatever it is. So like every year and a half, I will balance transfer everything from one credit account over to the next one so that I can keep that interest down to next to nothing. And I always carry a little bit of a balance on my credit cards just so that I can maintain a strong credit score, because you have to have credit to be able to have purchasing power in this country. So if you do it right, you can actually make it work for you. One of the things that I'm doing right now is I've got a Sky Miles card that I get, Sky Miles on every purchase, and so I actually buy everything on my Sky Miles card so that I can rack up all those Sky Miles so that whenever I travel, I can travel for free, so that I can get free hotel rooms, so I can get free rental cars, all that sort of stuff. And the way that we do it is I will budget exactly what I know I'm going to be spending for that month, and I'll have that plus 20% sitting in my savings account so that I can clear out the credit card at any moment if I so needed to. But I will put all my expenses through the credit card right there. All the business expenses go through the credit card right there so that I can rack up all the points, all the extra incentives and everything like that. And so if you use credit responsibly, it can actually serve you pretty well. But you can't do that if you throw yourself into a hole to begin with. Like the worst thing that you could ever do is go out and get a Capital One card at 19.9% APR or something, some crazy interest rate like that, run it up and then, blast your credit utilization and blast it out. You want to maintain your utilization in that 30 to 50% right there. Because if you dip below 30% utilization, you're actually going to start losing points on your credit. If you're over 50%, you're going to start losing points on your credit score. So you want to carry a little bit of a balance there, but you want to have the nest egg in place to where at any moment you could write that check or balance that transfer right there, or transfer that balance and clear it out to zero. And don't be afraid to move your credit cards from one institution to another every 16, 18, 24 months. It's the guy that has the same credit card with the same company for 10 or 15 years that's really going to do himself a disservice, because there are so many credit card companies out there that have incentive programs, that have Sky Miles programs, that have reward systems like that. And if you can actually capitalize quite a bit. You get 5% cash back for this month or that month. Like this month, I'm gonna, during the whole Black Friday and Christmas season, I get like 6-7% cash back on all my expenses out at retail. So you can guarantee everything that I buy will be done through the credit card, and then come February, it will get paid off, down to that 30% or less type of thing, so that I can absolutely rake in all the incentives and all the points so that I can get the freebie this and the freebie that. There's all, I get a catalog every year or so of random things that I can acquire through the points that I've earned, and it's kind of cool. Which I get a lot of gift cards through that. That's the cool thing. I'll get a lot of like an American Express or Visa gift cards through the points that I get. So that's free money that I get from the gift cards that I got from the points that I accrued from spending on the making the car payment, making the insurance payment, making my utility payments and stuff through the credit right there. But I do that knowing that at any moment I have the capital necessary to be able to zero out those balances. So that's how you have to do credit if you're going to play that credit game right there. You can't look at credit as money that's yours if you don't have the money to support that credit, because it's not your money if you're using somebody else's money. If you're using Chase's money or Capital One's money or whoever's money it is, and you don't have the money to pay that back, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Don't use the card unless you know you can pay it off. So that's how we've been able to be successful with that. Another thing that we're doing right now, I just moved from Salt Lake City, Utah to Georgia here, because I got a pretty nice opportunity to take over some land that's in a family trust and in a property that we have in a trust here that my grandfather acquired, 20, 30 years ago. We haven't moved on to that property yet because we decided that instead of going into the starting my homestead there and doing that, we've moved in with my in-laws, and we are helping them pay down their mortgage and get everything of theirs squared away because they've only got about 10 years left on their mortgage. And with 2 additional sets of income in the house, we're going to knock that down to like 3 or 4 years. So we're going to get their house paid off as quickly as possible so that we can zero out like the family's debt. I want to focus on everybody's debt that's in my circle right there, and it doesn't do us any bit of good to go and do our own thing and pay our own bills when someone else will have the debt collector knocking on their door when the balloon does go up. So we've kind of broken the mold, and we are because every country aside from America promotes and pushes multi-generational living, and I think it's not a bad thing if you're willing to do the multi-generational living if you do it with the right cause and the right course right there. So we're doing everything we can to zero out everybody's debt so that we can all own all the above. At the same time, we're developing the property up on the homestead right there. Grandpa did a really good job because it's on a septic tank. It's on well water. He's got 16 kilowatt propane generator hooked up there. He's got the wood pellet the pellet wood burners in the house there and everything. So we've already got a pretty good foundation as far as homestead goes, but I have not had the opportunity to go up and actually develop the garden space and the livestock space and stuff like that. That will be, and realistically, it's probably going to be about a year and a half before we really tackle that homestead heavy like that, because it's got good bones and it's got a good foundation, but we want to make sure that everybody else in our core group, is as served as we have been, because we've been very fortunate to be able to do pretty well for ourselves over the last decade. So we're trying to take that gift and kind of spread it about. So
that's good. I want to
answer a question real quick.
Okay.
I was going to answer a question real quick.
Answer the question.
I'll make it quick. They were talking in the side chat about companies looking at personal information, credit scores and stuff. Companies can do that now thanks to Congress. Companies are allowed to check your Facebook, your Twitter, your credit score for any job, and it's all the way from janitor all the way up to upper echelon management. They can check your scores.
I was going to comment on that too. That Caitlin Strain's saying, many employers will check credit score of job applicants, even if it's not financial. Yeah, and the government itself checks its people constantly for their credit scores and their financial standing. We had to let several special agents go because they were they'd gone into a foreclosure on their homes, and they were in financial trouble. And you cannot have a security clearance if you have any sort of financial trouble, because that's an opportunity for someone to come in and slip you money to get information. And so, yeah.
I've got a buddy that has above top secret clearance, and he has to manage his books because he doesn't has to make sure credit's 640 or higher range so that he can maintain his clearance with his government job there. So,
yeah.
All right, so you guys can see that the guys in the side chat is that the financial end of your experience of being able to be free to have your own place outside the city is fairly easy. Everybody in the panel and the side chat has been talking about their conditions for becoming financially secure anyway, so that you can go out and look for properties and whatnot. And make sure, like Tibor was saying, it sounds like he's been doing it or has done it, is to make sure that you are making sure that you got your easements, you've got access to the properties that you're buying, and then same as what Anthony was saying, make sure that you have all your mineral rights and stuff for your water and all that stuff, because you don't want people to come in there and say, hey, you didn't buy the timber, or you didn't buy the oil, or you didn't buy this, you just bought the land, and then they can come in there and they can rape your property of whatever you have. And they don't even clean up usually. Most of them just come in there and make a big mess and then they leave. So
well, and something else we did on our homestead to secure more rights and to be able to avoid possible eminent domain. Obviously, if they do it, they do it. But we actually had our land converted over to a family cemetery, and we had our grandmother moved up there, and we put her in the ground. So we actually have a cemetery on our property there. So that gives us a little bit more security with any sort of eminent domain situations there. There's a lot of little tips and tricks that you can do to secure your property, secure your water rights, your mineral rights, your resource rights there. So
one thing you also need to consider doing is on your property, put it into a living trust or an S
definitely
corp.
have to have it in a trust. Definitely have to have it into a trust.
Or an S corp.
It is,
which is a little bit different than a trust. It's basically the same thing. An S corp is kind of what Rockefeller used, where he owned nothing but controlled everything. So it's you put it into either a living trust or an S corp, and that way, when they look at it, they're not seeing an individual. They're thinking they're dealing with a corporation, and they back off a lot of times on stuff instead of trying to push the crap through on you.
Yes, my business is in a S corp, and they definitely the IRS looks at you in a different kind of light. One thing I want to add, though, is with the graveyard thing, since I do metal detect and all that fun stuff, that is one thing that you have to look out for. If there is a graveyard, anyone can go on your property, because you have to have at least a pathway to that graveyard, because there could always be a lost family member that could say, I would like to visit my great-great-grandmother, or blah, blah, blah. And that means someone can always come onto your property if you have one. So yes, it may help out from getting eminent domain and all that fun stuff, but it also means you have to maintain some sort of walkway or something to get there for public use.
Yep, that's why it's in the very corner, closer to the road. So
perfect.
We've got a pretty big chunk. We got 44 acres up there, and then I've got another 7 acres, just one parcel over from it. We're attempting to build a bridge between the two parcels right now to bring it up to about 51, 52 acres. So
now, I can't remember Georgia, but I know that you can also get a tree farm if you're over so many acres, and that definitely helps out as well with your property taxes, because that's what I have here at 5 acres.
That's good thing to think about. So.
He put in that when his mom passed away, they put everything in a trust, and then he pays himself from it, and that keeps the government out of the pockets.
Yeah, I've got a couple of trusts. We got the living trust for the property, and then I've got a trust for all my firearms and all of my little fun toys and stuff like that. So, but that's just, it's a level of separation between you and the government. So.
Yeah.
Cool. We're coming right along on the time for a change.
Yeah. So, Anthony, what do you got planned in the future?
Well, one of the main things I'm trying to hit here very soon, I made the mistake when I first bought the property. I really didn't plan everything out that well. So I put down some fruit trees and some pieces of the garden, but it wasn't in the most optimal place that I ended up wanting to put things now. So I kind of had to move a lot of stuff around. Same thing with my chicken coop, and my barn's not really in the best location either, because the former owners put the barn in the middle of the property. Well, they sold off half of it, so it's kind of off to that corner where, I can't really do anything with it. So it's kind of, yeah. So one of the things, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. Well, I need to plant some trees because, you know, I got 2 apple trees I put down last year, and they haven't produced yet because obviously it's only been a year. But I would really like to
It'll
start.
take about 5 or 6 before they start producing.
The only thing that's really started producing has been my figs and my blackberries and blueberries. And the one best part about it is we have a farmer's market in my small town, and those little small berries, especially if you make them into jam or preserves, you can make some good side money on that. So just a little thought for some of y'all on the chat that may be looking for a small like piece of land or whatever, and you may be good at something. If you have enough time, spare time, make some little jam, jellies, honey even, and sell it at a farmer's market. It's a good way to have a little bit of side cash, and especially if you do it in cash, maybe someone might not know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of the things about our property here is we have water rights from the irrigation canal 2 days a week, and so our plans are to put in a very large section of blackberries and blueberries and raspberries. And so, yeah, there's a farmer's market here up in Idaho Falls that we go to on Saturdays. Real big one. A lot of people going through there. So that's one of my wife's plans to do exactly what you said, Anthony.
Yep.
I actually
actually, when you get your homestead started, you should probably think of far enough ahead. Try to plant things that, as they mature, you can start either canning them or selling them at farmers markets and stuff, so that you can help put money back into the homestead.
Well, you have to think about wealth. Like you're creating wealth here. So when it comes to your property, when it comes to like how can you make money out of nothing? That's creating wealth, and that's making sure that you're going to be able to pay those bills, even if we're in an economic, slowdown or whatever. So people are going to want their preserves. People are going to want their honey. People are going to want small stuff from a farm. Eggs. That's my favorite thing to sell is eggs, because the city folks, they see a brown egg and whatever, they'll pay you $5 a dozen for it. Okay, by all means, that pays my feed, no problem.
Yeah,
small stuff like that. Boom. Like, think about doing it, get into it, and you could make some cash to a point where your current job that you're doing now, you can kind of pull back on having to work all that overtime or whatever that may be thrown at you.
You're going to say, Dan?
One of the random side hustles that I was just at a Viking meeting recently in the area, and it's a bunch of preppers pretty much getting together and talking about their stuff. And one of the really cool side hustles that I heard, and these people are making good money doing it. They breed rabbits because they eat rabbit meat pretty regularly, because rabbit is, if it's not if it's not against your religious beliefs, rabbit is awesome, and it's good lean meat. It's healthy. It's good there, but they breed rabbits, and they actually sell they drive down into Atlanta and they sell their rabbits as pets, and they're selling them for like $100 a pop, and they're selling like anywhere from like 40 to 60 rabbits a month, just selling pet rabbits, and they don't have to do shit to raise and breed these rabbits. They're like, there's like zero overhead because they have the clover patch and this, that, or whatever. So they these things are like born off of the land right there, and they are just, oh man, they're paying for their homestead. And it was the 12-year-old's idea to do it. That was the best part about this whole thing, But they're the livestock, the eggs, anything like that. Once if you really want to get into it, you start doing your animal husbandry right there and start breeding and raising stock and selling off that stock, and you can truly make some money off of nothing. One of the things that I did to really like help me bolster my going a totally different direction versus like the homestead thing is I got pretty fortunate with day trading on the stock market right there. I took like $2,000, which to some people is a whole lot of money. To others, it's pocket change. It wasn't a whole lot for me, and I was willing to be like, I had an extra $2,000 that I could easily just throw away if it wasn't back. Awesome. Within a year, that $2,000 turned into $40,000. So, that was through Bitcoin trading, through day trading, through IPO stuff, through penny stocks. So if if you're at home and you're trying to figure out a way to make money and not really have to do a whole lot, Like if you can follow the markets and if you can jump on certain penny stocks and stuff like that, you can turn $5 into $10. You can turn $10 into, $50 and stuff like that. And you really only need like 500 to $1,000 to of play money to be able to throw at that. So that is, it's something that served me really well. And something that can definitely serve anybody, because it's professional gambling, but if you do your research, it's a little bit, you got better odds than walking into Vegas right there type of thing.
Yeah, I play with penny stocks. They're pretty easy.
Yeah, but one bad day is a real bad day, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
But but you have to make sure that you have to do it responsibly. I had $2,000 and I turned that into $4,000. I took my 2,000 back, and my initial input in there. So I was out at that point. I was out nothing. And then I turned that $2,000 into another $4,000, and I took 1,000 of that back, and then I turned that $3,000 into $7,000, and then I took about 3,500 of that. You have to be willing to cash out regularly so that you are adding to your stock, so that when that bad day comes, you're not really out anything that wasn't yours to begin with.
You have to not be so greedy.
Tax is the big thing. I day traded for a while and I got screwed by the tax man, because when it comes to short-term trades, they take out 20%, 22%. It's like, geez.
Yep. They take that out of my paycheck anyway, so
they're like, oh man, I made $1,000. Like, oh crap, I got to pay like $200 of that just for taxes for one trade. Thanks, government.
Yeah. Well, one of the side hustles my wife and I have planned for, and actually this started just as a hobby shortly after we got married. She wanted to do, she's always done craft work and stuff, and she wanted to do stuff with woodworking. So one year I bought her a scroll saw, a belt and disc sander unit, a bandsaw, bunch of a couple routers and stuff, like a bunch of woodworking tools and stuff. And so for a while there, we were making, because our kids like the Brio train. Well, we were making imitation Brio train track, and that stuff's expensive. And so we made a whole bunch of it for our kids, cheap. And so little craft stuff like that is stuff we're going to be making and selling at the farmers market.
Hey, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
I've got one of my little woodworking side hustles that we've done quite a bit, and my sister and I are kind of running at it pretty hard. But because we live in a kind of a Ponzi area right now of North Metro Atlanta, there is just so much stupid money around here, man. It makes me sick to see everybody driving their Porsches and their Maseratis, this, that, or whatever. But we make luxury dog beds and luxury dog houses. We'll spend $30, $40, $50 in lumber, and about 3 or 4 hours worth of time on that. We sell them for $500 and $600 a piece.
Yeah, you got to find your side hustle and make it work.
Know your market. I mean, if people are looking for something, to capitalize on it. I mean, I got a whole bunch of old people around here, so they love that old school stuff. So if you can do something they used to have as a kid, the preserves or something like that, they'll buy it hardcore. They love it. Those retirees, they'll be throwing money at you.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm doing that is no money into it is I've written 6 books. I've got 3 that are out there right now on the internet that are free for people to look at, and because they're my beta copies. I'm getting people to proofread it and stuff for me. And when I hit 15 books written, then I'm gonna start putting them onto Amazon in Kindle edition. And that way I come out one every 3 weeks. And
a lot of work.
Yeah, but when you start coming out with books constant like that, all of a sudden you build up a big following, and then the word gets out, and all of a sudden you make the bestseller list.
Just become friends with Oprah.
I've heard plenty of rich people say, if you want to make money, write a book. Hey, and if you ever need an extra proofreader, Gil, let me know, man. I love to read. So
okay, well, I'll tell you guys right now. Write this down. The Asset Center. So all one word, TheAsset Center.com. That's my website. Everything on that website is free. You go there, one of the banners will say books. You go into books and go into the Against the Wind series, and those are 3 books in there. Book 1 for Against the Wind, book 1 for Family Compound, and book 1 for The Scout and the Ninja. And it's all dealing with the same event, but they're in different parts of the country. Once the group starts out in California, the other one's up in Council, Idaho, and the other one's in Phoenix, Arizona. And it's all dealing with the same type of event. It's not an EMP. It's Uncle Al's favorite event that's coming up here shortly.
December 20-something.
Yeah. Only this is that event on steroids. But yeah, it's and just as a word of warning, guys, it's not just action adventure. It's not just survival. There is love stories going through them as well. And so, you guys will wind up crying a little bit, guys. Oh. It's okay to cry. But yeah, I try to make
there better be some love stories.
Oh, they have to be. I mean, every movie that's ever been made and pretty much every book that's been successful that's ever been written has a love story of some sort in it. So
yeah, Pearl Harbor.
Unrequited love.
All right, you guys, is there anything else? Anything out of the side chat? You guys got it? Diversify your funds and make it so that you can afford to get out of the city.
Make sure to pay yourself.
It's not as hard as it sounds, actually.
It looks like Budget Bushcraft and RV Life has a little side hustle going on there. Takes pictures of things in the world that look like letters and make copies and sells them for a few dollars each. Costs some pennies to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, that website called where you can do that with pictures if you're really good at it. It's like Shutter or something where you just sell them a picture and they basically give you royalties every time someone uses it and then advertise
stock photo stuff. Yep.
Yeah, Shutterstock.
Yep. So just do that if you're really good at photography. Just find out something you're good at that you could easily market, and boom. I mean,
all right. Before we close out for tonight, I want to tell everybody that make sure you think of it. Veterans Day is not over with yet where I live, so I forgot to do that at the beginning. I meant to have a moment of silence for the veterans, but I want to make sure to thank any of the veterans that are in the side chat tonight. Thank you for your service. And remember, always think of it. All right.
Does everybody have parting words they want to go around with or anything like that? So.
Yep. Everybody say goodnight or whatever. Take a minute.
Hey, happy Veterans Day, everybody. Y'all take care.
Yeah, happy Veterans Day. And people, budget. Save your money. Put it back into your preps.
One of mine is, along with budgeting is, there's a lot of people that do the religious thing and they pay their tithing, this, that, or whatever. Pay yourself as well. Make sure you put yourself, even if it's only 10, 20, 30 bucks a month, something like that, put money away off to the side that you are not going to touch, because that money will serve you when you need it to serve you.
You got something, Grub? Nope. All right. Well, thank everybody for coming by tonight. Night. See you next week.
Later, y'all.
See ya.